Now, I'm lucky that I'm living in the Tel Aviv University when the historians are more or less like the historians in England in the beginning of the 20th century, not in the beginning of the 21st century. Now, the other thing that pushed me to write the first book was the discovery of the archaeologist, the Israeli archaeologist, about the fact that the exodus, the famous exodus of the Jews from Egypt, didn't happen. I remember the first time that I heard it, I was shocked. When I was young, I was leftist. But I believed that the exodus, the kingdom of Solomon, of David, it's history. In knowing from the archaeologist that all this is myth, it never was a real kingdom of David and Solomon that covered all the land of Israel. Then I decided to start to attack the questions of Jewish people, the existence of the Jewish people in a modern sense of the word people. It was simple. We cannot, I decide, to call all the cats, cats, all the dogs, dogs, in one cat to call them a dog. Why I'm saying it? Because we apply today the word people easily to a human group that has in common a kind of secular culture, daily practice and all this. Language, food, music, a lot of things. In the case of the Jewish people, we had not 200 years ago a common thing between a Jew from Kiev and a Jew from Marrakesh. In common, there is something very important, but it's religion, with all the practice around. But when we are going farther from the religion practice, we don't find something common between a Jew in Kiev and a Jew in Marrakesh. This was the starting of my work. Examine the Zionist historiography in seeing how it was built, constructed, the idea of a people. And you concluded very, very nicely the way that I worked till arriving to publish this book. By the way, the exile. I was educated. Not in a Jewish school in London. I passed all my years in Israel. The fact that the Jews were expelled from the land of Israel was the basic of my thinking about our collective identity. You understand? It was so deep. I remember the day that I read a little, very short article of somebody that say, no, the exile didn't happen. And I remember running to the library of our university that has a lot of books about the history of Jews. Really. And I was looking for one book, one research book about the act of the exile. And I remember I didn't find any book how the Jews were expelled from Judea, from Palestine. I didn't find even one book. I remember the same day running to a few of colleagues that are occupying with ancient history and asked them, I'm shocked. The exile didn't happen? And they told me, we never wrote that the exile happened. And I said, come out to the corridor, ask all the students. Everybody knows that the Jews were expelled from Judea 2,000 years ago. Yes, but it's not us. And then I started to understand what is nationalism and what is the technology of diffusing historical consciousness. I think that everywhere it exists, but it was very sharp to me. The technology to diffuse is some historical knowledge without any basic of evidence. Now, I wrote a book. It was translated to 20 languages. It didn't finish yet. It's continued to work. And it was a bestseller in Israel. My colleague didn't like the book, but the student liked it very, very much. They bought it. I didn't become a rich person, but they bought it. It was 19 weeks in the bestseller in Israel. You see, we are a very strange country. Now, you mentioned before Simon Schama. I don't know him personally, but in the Financial Times, he was one of the first to attack me by saying, we know everything about this, but everything is not true. It's one of the arguments. Everything we know before, and everything is a lie. Now, he blamed me that I tried in my first book to cut the connection between Jews and the land of Israel. I was surprised because it wasn't my purpose. Really. I want to deconstruct, to decompose the idea of an ethnic, of a race that a lot of people, a lot of students around me believe in it. I didn't think about the land in the first book because I'm not so clever and I didn't understand at the beginning the insistence of the Jewish people is because people have lands. Religion don't have lands. It's very simple, very banal. And then, because of Simon Schama and a lot of other Israeli Zionist historians, I decided to write the second Terminator, Terminator 2, about the land. Now, a few things I knew before. I knew, as you mentioned very nicely, that the Jews 2,000 years ago didn't want to go there. And today, I begged Woody Allen to come to live with me in Tel Aviv. But he preferred the Goys. Woody Allen, yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, not in the past and not in the present, Jews didn't want to go to Palestine. They didn't want to go to Palestine because Judaism, the place of Palestine in Judaism, is not at all the place of Palestine in Zionism. There is a deep, deep contradiction between Judaism and Zionism. In some way, Zionism is a kind of opposition, a complete opposition against Zionism. And the fact is, when Herzl established the Zionist movement, all the Jewish establishment, Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, were against Herzl.